you think you were attacked by a demon. And I have to tell you, like, a lot of people mock this, they roll their eyes, but...
And my wife goes, I think you were attacked by some supernatural being. And I was like trying to be logical about it. And I was like, yeah, I definitely was.
Hi everyone, JJ here. Welcome back to the Johnston Lounge. Yes, a new name if you haven't caught up with that. Anyway, let's get into what you're here for. This really caught my eye. Now, I haven't talked about Tucker Carlson yet out of more than 600 videos I've made, but this one really caught my eye, and I am branching out into different topics, as regulars here will know. So why Tucker Carlson? Well, look at this here, the spiritual and the supernatural. Tucker Carlson on God surviving a demon attack. Yes, that's right. We're going to get into that. And UFOs. And why this matters to me, why I actually find it pretty shocking. If you look at some of the top podcasts in the world, the Joe Rogan Experience, and I've talked about Joe Rogan quite a lot, criticizing, and Theo Von too. I've made a video about him, one or two, I think, at this stage. But Tucker Carlson, number 3. So he's usually in the top 3 or 4 on Spotify at least, and on YouTube pretty much everywhere. And Megyn Kelly too. So these are two sort of heavyweights in podcasting and media, and on the conservative side, right-wing side. And I'm actually kind of shocked about what they were talking about seriously here. So this is very mainstream at this point. And honestly, to me, it seems like something out of the Middle Ages. Is this 2025? What are we talking about? We're talking about demon attacks. So I had to watch this, and I was pretty shocked. Like, he's deadly serious about this, about what happened. And we'll go through what his demon attack was. He truly believes that it happened. But see if you can pick something that might have caused, there might be a simple explanation for what he's talking about. But first, a little bit of background here from what he's saying. He has become pretty religious over the past few years. He explained that leading up to this. But this is what he said about it just in a few seconds, and then we'll get into the demon attack. Okay, first let's hear it.
But then I just realized that their evil is real, like supernatural evil, and that this battle between light and dark that every culture has described, every religion describes in great detail, from the beginning of recorded history, is real. And it's only in my country, in the West, since the Second World War, that we've just decided we're God, and we don't think in those terms, and so we're blind to what's actually happening.
Okay, so when he's talking about we're God, he's talking about science. This is quite anti-science. Before this, he was talking about how there's too much emphasis on science and not the spiritual. And he thinks that this supernatural battle between good and evil is going on. And he also explains that he read the Bible for the first time from beginning to end, and he hadn't really done that before. He took a year to do that, and it made him more religious. And it brought him to this good and evil kind of thing, the supernatural, that it exists. And that has led him to believe in demons and angels. And he also says in this that UFOs have a spiritual element to them. He thinks that the UFOs that people are seeing do have a supernatural aspect to them. And so this, as I said, is very mainstream at this point. Some of the biggest podcasts in the world. And another thing, he has talked recently, I do see clips of his. I don't really watch the whole shows. I have watched some of them, but not usually. When he talks about politics, he seems to be gearing up to maybe make a run for politics, maybe president at some point. He's certainly popular enough to do that, right? So it could be a mainstream thinking that could be in the White House. I mean, some of the people there say the Christian nationalist is a big thing in the US right now. It's rising since Charlie Kirk was assassinated as well. And this sort of spiritual Christian, definitely Christian nationalist, we could say white nationalists. Both these people here are really white nationalists, I think, and Christian. Megyn Kelly, I've heard what she says as well. So there's that background to it. Now let's get to this demon attack. And as I said, see if you can think of some sort of logical explanation for what he's saying. I might stop and when he says it. Here we go.
Okay. But you had a story on somebody else's podcast that completely caught my attention, which you said you think you were attacked by a demon. And I have to tell you, like, a lot of people mock this, they roll their eyes, but I look at like what happened to Charlie, what happened in the wake of Charlie, what happened at the Ascension School in Minneapolis, where that man went in there and shot a bunch of little children praying at their church school. And I challenge anyone to tell me there aren't demons among us.
Well, I never thought there were. I thought the whole thing was like bizarre.
So what happened?
Because like culturally, I'm just not from a world where people are attacked by demons.
Culturally, I'm not from a world that people are attacked by demons. So this is explaining what's happening in society. Say some of these mass shootings and murders that are happening. It's got to be demons, right? It can't be, it can't be anything that's psychologically based, that's not spiritual. And when we can talk about evil, you might believe what he's saying here. You might not think the same way that I think. People do think in different ways. So please let me know in the comments, either for or against what he's saying here. Is good and evil, does it have a spiritual element, or is it sort of brain chemistry? So psychopaths, sociopaths, people with PTSD, we've got these stories of veterans going berserk with guns after going into war, where it's okay to kill people every day. It's encouraged, and they have to come back to normal society, and something like that might happen. But these people choose to explain that by supernatural means. Okay, let's go on.
And in fact, when it happened the next morning, when I saw the blood on my sheets, I was like, I actually called someone who works for me who's a very sincere, lifelong evangelical, and I'm like, have you ever heard of this? And she's like, oh yeah, it happens all the time. And I was like, what? Not to Episcopalians, it doesn't.
Stuff it down.
Yeah, no, it was well, yeah, I mean, I'm not embarrassed at all, and I don't care if I'm mocked. Don't get anything out of making this up, and I'm not making it up.
But what happened?
Well, actually, getting something out of making it up. So I'm thinking here, is he lying? That's one of the questions. Is he making this up? Is he lying because he knows that the audience that he's going for, the supporters that he's going for, is that massive Christian kind of audience in the US? It's more Christian, you'd have to say, than a lot of other countries. Like the country that I live in, I think maybe it's 50 or less, that is religious at all, pretty secular. I think Australia's like that too, but it is striking that US is a really, it seems to me, very powerful Christian base there, and Trump knows that, even though I don't even know if he's ever been to a church in his life, but he definitely tries to recruit support from a Christian right wing, right? And maybe, just maybe, Tucker Carlson is doing the same here by talking about demons and angels. I don't know. What do you think? Maybe that's a cynical view. Maybe he actually does believe it, but he knows if he's in the political realm that this is really going to help in the US, right? If you're on the right wing, maybe not so much on the left, but on the left too, really.
I had this crazy experience where I was in the truck with someone coming back from quail hunting, and I had all of a sudden we were talking about someone I despise, and all of a sudden I had this crazy empathy for the person, like really intense empathy, like I could understand why this person was doing these horrible things. And I said to the person in the truck, this is a family dispute, right? So I said to the person, maybe my brother, and I said, I think I know what's happening here. This person feels this way, that way, this way. And my brother goes, how did you know that? I said, I don't know. It just like, and my brother goes, I think like God is like speaking through you or something. And I felt total, true empathy for this person I truly hate. It was like the craziest thing that's ever happened to me.
So that's a Christian thing. I mean, if you think of what would Jesus do, turning the other cheek, having empathy for enemies or supposed enemies, and that is definitely the Christian ideal, right? But we see a lot of that in society that's not like that. There's a lot of kind of hate that goes on against, opposition to Christianity and religions fighting with each other. The source of wars that's still going on in 2025.
My brother's like, I think that's from God. Like, there's no way you could. I was like, well, that's kind of wild. So then I get home. We have this huge dinner party, which we always have dinner parties, and I forget about it. And I'm telling you this because they're twinned. The one leads to the other. I had this profound experience with God, like profound and beautiful and unexpected. And then I go to bed with my wife and 4 dogs who sleep in the bed.
Okay, so look at this. He's in bed, and this is where the demon attack happened. So he was in bed with his wife and 4 dogs sleeping on the bed. Okay, let's just put a pin in that for a minute.
My dogs are hunting dogs. All 5 of them wake up like that. Like we have no home invaders in my house. I wake up at 2:30 in the morning. I check and I couldn't breathe at all. My throat was closed. It wasn't like I was apnea or was strong as I couldn't breathe. So I get up, I stand in the doorway of our bedroom, and I'm like, wow, I'm dying. I could feel myself starting to gray out. And then I started walking in the backyard, and then it slowly came back. Like my throat kind of opened up a little bit. I was like really weirded out. I walk back in, and my wife wakes up. She goes, what is going on? I said, I don't know. I can't breathe. I feel better now. And all of a sudden, I had this horrible pain underneath my arms, like on the side of my chest, like bad. I thought I'd been like ripped with a knife or something. It just was very intense. So I go into the bathroom, I flip on the light, and I have claw marks on both sides, on right and left side on my ribs, and they're bleeding. And they're literally claw marks, 4 on either side. I put my fingers in them, don't fit my fingers, and I sleep on my side. So how could? And by the way, no one woke up. So I show my wife, and she's like,
No one woke up except him. Didn't he say the dogs woke up? I mean, to me, this is a pretty simple explanation of being scratched by the dogs. 4 dogs, and then he mentioned 5 dogs there sleeping on the bed. I mean, what dogs do in their sleep. They move around and sometimes dream. And, I mean, this is why the fact that he didn't think of this, and Megyn Kelly is not, I wonder if she's thinking this. I don't think she ever asked the question from watching this clip before. I haven't watched it for a few days, but I don't think she questions that. It's like, of course it's supernatural. Of course it's demons. There's no other explanation for it, right? And even wandering around, people do that or wake up. I mean, it doesn't sound like night terrors. People who explain night terrors as waking up and being paralyzed. It didn't sound like that. But, a lot of things can happen in the middle of the night that seem like something else. Or, I mean, if you're sleeping with dogs on the bed, come on. What are we talking about here?
like, oh my gosh. And then I have this like crazy intense desire to read the Bible. So I read the Bible and I pass out in like 2 minutes, and I wake up and the next morning I thought, man, did I have a wild dream? And then I see blood in my sheets, and I go in the bathroom and I have these bloody marks. And my wife goes, I think you were attacked by some supernatural being. And I was like trying to be logical about it. And I was like, yeah, I definitely was.
I was trying to be logical about it and thought I definitely was attacked by a supernatural being. It wasn't the dogs that scratched me by accident. It was a supernatural being. I'm sorry to mock. I mean, a lot of people watching this will probably believe this. I mean, I'm very skeptical. I'm an atheist. So, of course, I'm going to look for some pretty logical explanation, where he jumps to the supernatural one because he's been reading the Bible, believes in the supernatural good and evil and all that. So, of course, he's going to jump to that. I mean, I might try and find some explanation first before I leaped to a demon attacked me. And now he's talking about it on a podcast repeatedly and getting the support of people who believe, deeply in demons and angels, etc.
And then I called one of my producers who's like, oh, yeah, well, that's pretty common. I was like, what? And I've had a couple other experiences, not that crazy, but where you really feel God's presence, which is marked by peace and true empathy, love for other people, which doesn't come naturally to me. I'm kind of a dick, obviously. But you know it when God is acting through you, and then they're followed by some wild attack. Like, why? I've had a couple things. It's just like, why? Anyway, I'm not an expert on this. I'm hardly a theologian. Of course, I would never pretend to be an expert on anything. I can only say what happened to me. It was 100% real, and it completely changed my view of the world.
Okay, so that's what he has to say about the demons there. Now, this reminds me, actually, I did a video a while ago, which I'll link to in the description on Spotify and on YouTube as well, of Peter Thiel talking about the Antichrist. He's been giving lectures about the Antichrist. My conclusion about that was, I think he is religious. He's very kind of far right-wing for sure. He has been for a long time for one of these tech billionaires, although, more are sort of coming around to being far right. But he has been religious, I think. But he talks about Greta Thunberg being, and people like her being the Antichrist. And it's been pointed out in interviews that, well, wouldn't somebody that's the founder of Palantir, wouldn't the Antichrist kind of like what Palantir is doing with the surveillance? I mean, the interviewer was kind of making a joke there, but he was sort of stumped on that, saying, oh. But I came to the conclusion then that Peter Thiel, who funded J.D. Vance to get to vice presidency, It's like it could be a similar thing where he's trying to recruit from that Christian base, that big Christian base. Not necessarily that Peter Thiel was trying to make a run at politics, but testing the waters and trying to get support for JD Vance being president one day. Or, he knows that there's a massive Christian base who believes in this stuff. So talking about the Antichrist is definitely in the wheelhouse, and talking about demons like that and angels. And to me, as I said, this seems like something out of the Middle Ages, where it's just kind of, if these people took a lot of power, well, they are taking a lot of power, right? We're a few steps away from burning witches at stakes again, who are actually feminists. They're witches, burn them. I mean, this is kind of where this stuff leads. They're evil, they're demons, they must be destroyed. This is where this stuff actually has led in the past and could lead again. What is this? Is this like is it turning into The Handmaid's Tale? I don't know. But anyway, there's another thing as well where he starts talking about UFOs. And I thought, okay, of course he'll believe in UFOs. And, Joe Rogan talks about it, and there's lots of conspiracy theories. And a lot of people do believe in UFOs, but he has the spiritual element to it. He thinks that they are actually demons and angels. Let's listen to this.
And that will lead us to UFOs. All right. Now, I know you're into this topic, and I know you know people who know a lot about this topic and who may not be able to provide everything they know in a public setting. So what do we know?
Well, we know beyond question that there are objects and phenomena, aerial and undersea, that can't be explained by science and that seem to defy the laws, measurably defy the laws of physics, and that are not experimental aircraft created by DARPA or the...
Is that true? Is it actually true? Or can there be more logical explanations for this? Just because something's unexplained doesn't mean there's not a logical. Again, leaping to the supernatural or aliens that have been here for ages and we're undetected. Even Elon Musk, I'm super critical of Elon Musk, but whenever this question comes up, he says, I own SpaceX. I have, links with the government. Do you think that I wouldn't know if there were aliens or alien spaceships? Because he'd be interested in that, right?
The DOD or by the Russians or the Chinese. We know that. There have been many testimonies to this effect under oath in the Congress in the last 2 years. So, that's not even a question. Are they real? Yeah, well, obviously they're real. What are they is the question. And I've been down the rabbit hole on this, and just because of my job, the one upside to having a gig like this, as you well know, is if you're curious about something, you actually have access to people who know or say they know. And you just call them up and be like, hey, come to my house, tell me what you know. I'm working on a story about it. I've never done really a story on this because I came to a hard and fast conclusion on it, which I can't prove, but I sincerely believe it, which is that these are spiritual phenomena, obviously. They've been here forever. There's a lot of evidence of that in the written record going back thousands of years. They're angels and demons, of course. And that would be obvious and was obvious to everyone else.
Yeah, of course they're angels and demons are UFOs. The demon attacked him, which seemed to be a dog scratching him by accident in his bed. And now we have UFOs where he thinks they're actually angels and demons flying around. As I said, this is mainstream conservative kind of thinking, or is it being a bit wacky? But this is one of the biggest stages. We've got Megyn Kelly and Tucker Carlson talking in front of an audience, in front of a massive audience. This is kind of pretty mainstream at this point. And as I said, are we going to be burning witches at stakes again at some point?
What's so interesting, one of the reasons that this topic will drive you crazy and why I opted out and do no research and talk to no one about it, I'm out, I know what I think, I don't want to know anymore, is because there is such, and this is a matter of record, a concerted, decades-long disinformation campaign by the U.S. government to obscure what's happening. And if you look at that, and I grew up the son of a federal employee in a world where there was a lot of this stuff, so I do know a lot about this. And one of the ways to discredit the truth is by flooding the zone with lies. So rather than just denying UFOs are not real, well, you can't deny that anymore, they are real. What you do is you create a bunch of fake stories leading people in the wrong direction. You flood the zone.
Okay, well, that's good information because that's what the Trump administration does. I think Stephen Miller knows that. Steve Bannon knows that. All the Steves know that. And that's what they're doing. And Tucker Carlson knows that. But I think, is this a strategy? Does he actually believe this? It seems like he does believe it. Or is he just lying because of that Christian base and he's really getting into politics? Well, he is in politics. He's in media, but he could make that step to running an office. And he talks about the government here. I mean, you could imagine him getting into government saying, I'm going to find out about this. Just like Trump said, I'm going to release the Epstein files. I'm going to find out about this, and then getting into government and doing nothing about it. So it's just playing politics. Anyway, do let me know what you think about this. Do leave a comment on YouTube and Spotify. Spotify has comments now, getting a few over there. So do follow if you're over there as well. But leave a comment about this. What do you think? Do you believe in demons? Do you believe in angels? Do you believe that Tucker Carlson was attacked by a demon? Do you believe that UFOs have a spiritual element to them? Let me know what you think. I'd really love to know about this one. And also right now I'm going to put a link to a related video and also a subscribe link. Do subscribe. And if you want to go that step further, join as a member to get priority reply to comments and early access, usually about 7 hours earlier. So thanks for watching this one, and I will see you in the next one.